Mike Douglas is Michigan's retirement coach.
Ladies and gentlemen of Grand Rapids, it's official. You are 1 year closer to your retirement goal line. Here we are in January.
Woo-hoo.
Woohoo!
It's
Happy
exciting.
New Year! Yay!
Happy New Year.
And of course, Mike here on the radio every week to share ideas on ways that you can better prepare. So as you're listening today, if you have a January 2026 New Year's resolution to get some money situations organized and in order, Mike and his team, of course, here for you. Let's set some time on the calendar for you to start with the conversation with Mike. The number you're dialing, 616-512-2127. You can also find us anytime at michigansretirementcoach.com. The holiday season has now officially, another one passed us by. Was it successful for the Douglas family?
It's always successful. We survived. We got through it, and
Everybody's alive.
Yeah. And what we're dealing with, just as a little insight, we're dealing with the transition from kids to teenagers.
Yeah.
In that, when they're kids, you wrap, 15 to 20 presents each, and each present is, $5, $10, $15, whatever,
Right.
They may have one kind of high dollar item, but other than that, it's just a lot of volume,
things, yeah.
a lot of energy, and it's just a whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, now as the kids have gotten older, we're like, all right, and we've discussed this before, but we still give them a budget for what we'll spend on Christmas.
Yeah.
And so their budget gets eaten up with like 3 or 4 hoodies. And so I'm like, all right, Gavin, what do you want? And he's 15, and he's like, all right, well, I want this Nike Tech jacket and the Nike Tech thing's $110. And then he wants these sweatpants that are $50 and this hoodie that's $60. I'm like, well, there goes your $200 like in those 3 things. And it's like, all right, you better unwrap them real slow. But so now
enjoy it. Make it last.
Yeah. So now when they get these gifts, it's like they open them and they knew they were getting them. And because they pick them out on a list. So again, it's just like the trade-offs are great, right? Having these older kids is so much fun. They're so funny. Gavin's driving, like a lot of stuff's really, really good.
Christmas is
one of those weird
magical
callbacks where you're like, it's anticlimactic, right? Like we do all this stuff and, hey, you guys ready? And they come up like groggy teenagers.
Right. They're not excited and waking up at 5 a.m. anymore. They're sleeping till noon. You and Kimberly are now sitting there waiting for them.
Right. Well, and we've started traveling again on Christmas where we do, hey, we'll get up, we'll open your 4 gifts, we'll eat breakfast, then we get in the car and we drive to Delaware to see my grandfather. So since the roads are basically clear on Christmas, we do that.
Yeah.
And my grandfather is 95. So seeing him was great. It's always fun to live life with that. And my sister and her family came out, my brother and his family came out, like my parents. So all of us caravanned out to Delaware to see him and spend time with him. And that was really fun. And it's always a good time. So it's become pretty routine, but at the same time, we get, I don't know how many Christmases we're going to have left with Gavin in the house, probably 5, 7, until he, moves out and goes on to life and does things. So we're really just cherishing these moments as we have them.
That's what it's all about.
I know I said Gavin like 3 or 4 times, but there's also the 3 other kids, but he's the oldest. And so he kind of trips the breakers on my brain with this stuff, and it's like, oh,
reflection.
Man. So then, and Zachary's 13, Caleb's 11, and Emmy's 10. So they're right behind him. We have no more single digit kids. Everybody's double digit age. And so that just really accelerates what it feels like the timeline. But it's great. Douglas, Christmas is always fun.
That's what it's all about. Spending time with family, being able to do the things that you want to do. Obviously, for the folks that you work with, helping them continue on all of these good family moments and memories, not just through the holidays, but all year round. That's what Mike and his team are doing at Life Plan Financial Design. So a lot of us do a lot of reflection in January about the past 12 months. And when it comes to figuring out what you want to do in 2026, if you've got financial goals, Mike and his team, they're here to help. So visit us at michigansretirementcoach.com. Speaking of reflecting and where we are financially, let's look back and talk about 2025 and what happened, because for many, it was a great year to retire thanks to interest rates. Annuities were paying nearly 7%. An article on Yahoo Finance says, while economic and market conditions should not be the main driver of your retirement, they are a factor. Rates now are much lower, Mike. We've had 3 good years in a row of market returns. There's also a new tax deduction for seniors. There is a lot to unpack here in this first story. How do you spin all of this into advantages for the folks that you work with and their plans for retirement?
Well, I think we just need to understand that there's kind of an ever-evolving landscape of retirement, right? So when you retire, we pray that you have high market returns and low volatility, right?
Yeah.
But for those who are lower in the, like if they're 20 years younger, we actually want the market to dip down. That way they can buy their stocks cheaper and let them run up over time. But for clients who are retiring and people who listen, actually I just took a phone call this week from a guy who said, I'm ready to hang it up. I'm tired of doing all these things myself. And I'm ready to kind of move on to this next phase of life, which is great. And so when we sit down and have these conversations, we try to open people's eyes to the road hazards ahead, the opportunities to prepare for them in advance, and to make sure that you use today's economics based on long-term views and planning and to make good decisions. I worked with a couple who retired early in 2025. And one of their big focuses is, I don't want to worry about income. They came from they were salary employees. And they said, in retirement, I want my Social Security just plus some level of income that's just guaranteed. I don't want the market to hurt it. So for them, an annuity made sense. They do not make sense for everybody, but for them, it made sense, especially with the high interest rates that we still have some right now. They've come down, but annuity companies are still paying out really high interest rates, which is good for the annuitant or the owner of the annuity. So they were paying out close to 7% early 2025. And they were able to get a portion of their money to cover all of their expenses.
Okay.
So out of their portfolio, which is about $1.4 million, they're able to commit about $400,000 into an annuity, and it covered that plus their Social Security, covered all of their lifestyle.
Okay.
So now we've got about $1 million that can be invested in the market and become more opportunistic. So for them, that made sense. It doesn't make sense for everybody. But when it covered their core expenses, that gave them some peace of mind. And they didn't have to stress anymore. Well, if the market's down, should we not take from the investments? It doesn't matter because the annuity is guaranteed and the Social Security is paying out. And for the next several years, we'll allow that market portfolio to grow and do things in case Social Security gets cut down the line. Right. Can we protect that? So for them, it was a really big thing. They're using good market years to rebalance and build their portfolio. Also, there's these tax deductions that are out there for seniors now. The Social Security tax deduction that most people get, instead of worrying about what changed, they're starting to benefit from things that we've already put in place for them. So I think we just want to be really aware that the rules change constantly, and we are left kind of responsible for it. The government changed, the IRS changes it, the administration changes tax laws, and you have to navigate that thing. That's what we do for people. So if you're thinking about that, or if it's becoming a stressful, what should I do? How do I get income? There's a lot that goes into it. Just like you said, Heather, a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
If you want a conversation to really put it into palatable, understandable terms, and to get retirement to be demystified, just understanding, here's how I get paid, here's how I live my life, and here's what we do in good markets and bad. Give us a call and we will help you walk through that conversation. 616-512-2127. Or you can reach out to us at michigansretirementcoach.com. Schedule a time for us to have a chat. And like I mentioned, a guy called in this past weekend and he just said, hey, I'm just over it. I'm done. I don't want to deal with this anymore. So, and again, he was someone who had been doing it himself for a long time. But as he called in, he said, I just, I know who I am. I know how I like to invest. I just don't want to be in charge of it. And I said, that's fair. So we went through and had a really good conversation about that. And for a lot of people, that's what it is. So again, if that's you and you want to have that conversation, give us a call, 616-512-2127. I think one of the good things for us to think about is if I have interest rates coming down, as we mentioned, what does that do to the stock market? And what does that do to the bond market? All right. I don't want to get too nerdy. So Heather, let me know if I, and people who are listening, I apologize.
Remember,
I get really
it is
nerdy
Sunday morning. It is.
I know.
People have not finished their coffee yet. Please continue.
Kimberly always jokes that my love language is spreadsheets and nerd talk. And so I apologize if it goes, but just understand this. When interest rates go up, bonds fall. When stocks go up, bonds fall. So we've got a very interesting environment right now where the market's doing well. But if interest rates drop, the stock market's going to do well. So your stock portfolios will typically be pretty good if interest rates are dropping. At the same time, when interest rates drop, annuities will pay out less. Sometimes the stock companies will give a less of a dividend, or your bond portion of your portfolio. If you have like a 60-40 portfolio, the bond side will struggle. So we just want to be aware, like we can look and say, hey, they're going to keep lowering rates. Maybe we need to adjust our portfolio to not have bonds in it that we know will lose money for the next couple of years. It's like, on the other hand, if the interest rates drop, sometimes your bonds will go up. So we got to just make sure we're aware. But interest rate volatility creates bond price movement. And we just want to make sure that we are, at the end of the day, after all this nerdy talk, after all of the science, there is a art that is your lifestyle. I want to go golfing. I want to snowbird. I want to see my grandkids. I want to do these things. Doing those things is more important than picking the right stocks. Doing those things is more important than getting up in the morning, seeing how the market did, and then making decisions on lifestyle. Yeah. So you have to know that tax changes can be a bonus to you. And tax laws did change in favor of seniors this year. So there are some good things that happen there. Good markets can create really good opportunities to plan for new things. Stock markets are up. My portfolio is up. Maybe I should be taking some chips off the table and rebalancing to something safer. Okay. That's something to think about. Yeah. Sometimes you want to lock in some things, right? Like when CDs were really high in 2022 and 2023, and people were getting 6% at the bank or 5.5% at the bank, people bought up CDs. Well, what do you do now is those CDs come due and they're paying you 3.5% to 4%. You go, I don't want to tie it up for 3.5%. That's when you have to start looking at maybe more creative investments and using some strategies that aren't just throw it in the CD and get your small rate of return. So knowing that economic conditions are changing shouldn't change your retirement. You can't let the administration or the market or the IRS or economic stuff change your retirement. What you want to do is you want to understand them and then understand how to make them work in your favor. Yeah. The key is having a plan that adapts instead of reacts, right? Because sometimes people say, well, the market's going down. Well, let's get out. You don't want to do that necessarily. But I'm also at 70 years old, not willing to ride the roller coaster of the stock market full speed. So understand who you are, have a plan that's built accordingly, and then have a plan that adapts to changing markets and looks forward, not backwards. That's why people tend to call in. They don't call in because they say, oh, I just wanted to talk. I get it. But most people say, this is a lot. There's a lot going on. I'm kind of frustrated. I'm fearful. They're looking for help. And I get it. And when you retire, you don't retire to become a CFO or a financial analyst or a financial advisor. You typically retire to go golfing or to travel or to do the things you've always wanted to do and to finally not clock in. So for those people who say, you know what, I want to have a conversation with someone who can help me feel peace about retirement and understand what life could look like or should look like as a retiree, give us a call, 616-512-2127, and we'll have a conversation. We'll talk on the phone for about 30 minutes. Just hear you out, hear your questions, and see if there's any advice or peace of mind we can give you, or if we should get together and talk about it. So give us a call, 616-512-2127, or you can get a hold of us at michigansretirementcoach.com.
Mike, you said before you like nerding out, and I don't want to nerd out too much because Mike's a very smart person if you're listening to us on Wood Radio this morning. But we try to keep things simple. Again, it's Sunday morning. You're enjoying your coffee. But still, let's dive into the tax conversation a little bit. And I'm going to ask you a question.
Here we go.
I'm not even really, right? Everybody hang on. Whee! But I'm not even really sure that I understand what I'm getting ready to ask you here, sir. So let's talk slowly through it. There are some advantages in retirement planning that disappear as your income goes up. Those include the new $6,000 deduction for being over 65, your ability to contribute to a Roth, the lower premium for Medicare Part B, your IRMA, and the taxing on Social Security. Again, all of these depend on keeping your income level down. But of course, we want our income, we're going through our working years, getting into retirement. We don't want to see our income go down. We want it to stay at a certain level, if not go up, especially with inflation over the years ahead. Mm-hmm. This is where I get confused. Is there a part of tax planning that tries to keep your taxable income below certain levels?
Yeah. So we want to make sure that we understand the difference between income and taxable income.
Okay.
So while we're employees, while we're working through life, if you have a job and it pays you $110,000 a year, that's all taxable income. The only way to get rid of that income is to maybe contribute to your 401k. So if I throw $10,000 in my 401k, I have 100,000 of taxable income and they tax me on all 100,000, right? That's our regular working life. Once we're retired, we have income streams and they're not all taxable. They don't all count. So as we look at where I take money from, how I invest, what my income streams are set up to be, there are ways to have income that's not taxable. The problem is, if all of your income is completely taxable, then you are subject to these rules. If I go over this, my IRMA limits, my premiums go up for my Medicare. I can lose my deductions. I can, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. At the end of the day, you have a certain lifestyle you want to live. And that lifestyle is built around a number. Maybe that number is $8,000 a month, $10,000, $12,000, $4,000, whatever the number is. I want to live a lifestyle built around this number per month. And that is an after-tax number. Okay. So whatever that number is for you listeners out there, $6,000 a month may be your number. Okay. Well, your Social Security may cover between two of you $4,000. So now I need to come up with the shortage from my investments or from something along the way. How do I live on that money? Well, if I take from a Roth IRA or my 401k or just from a brokerage account, they're all three taxed differently. So what we want to do is build strategies that says, I get as much income as possible, but I don't want it all to be taxable and charge me all these extra premiums and fees. So if we do good tax strategies, if we have Roth money, if we use long-term capital gain strategies, if we, again, sounds very boring, but what's not boring is tax-free income. We just set someone up the other day. We went through a plan and said, he's 64 years old. If we use this tax strategy for 5 years, we can make it so you never pay federal income taxes again. Your premiums will never go up and you'll have more income than what you have now. He said, that's not possible. I said, it's absolutely possible. It requires some thoughtful planning and consideration.
Right.
But we went through and said, all right, we're going to do this much in Roth conversion. We're going to change this portfolio to be invested in a way where it doesn't kick off dividends and charge you taxes. There's a lot of stuff we did. It's all heavily integrated. By the end of the 5 years, when it's all said and done, he will no longer pay any taxes on his Social Security. He will not pay any taxes on the distributions that come out of his investments. And he will have the lowest Medicare premiums you can have. And he'll be living on about $140,000 a year. So that's good living. If you can have $140,000 net after-tax income a year and pay no taxes on it, that's good. So those strategies are out there, but it requires some thoughtful thinking.
Of course.
You have to understand that tax strategies require a team mentality. It's a team sport. I need my income and my investments and my taxes to be all on the same page, running the same plays. Because if I make those decisions well-informed and thoughtful, I can do it. If we can look at your taxes over the next 20 years and say 5 years of strategy can result in 15 years of no taxes, that's a win for you and your family. If we don't, then you just are subject to whatever the changes are in the future and you react. You take money out to remodel your kitchen and all of a sudden, doggone it, I didn't know that was going to cause taxes on my Social Security, but it does. So if you knew it in advance, maybe we could choose different things. Tax planning isn't about avoiding income. It's about choosing the right kind of income. The more tax-free buckets and opportunities you have, the more control you gain. You can have the same spending level, but you can create very different tax bills depending on the source. That's all about strategy and thoughtful planning. So for those conversations to build a tax-free retirement, to learn how to live off the tax grid, give us a call, 616-512-2127.
Mike and his team, they're here to help guide you through this process because at the end of the day, the goal is that you're going to retire one time. But Mike and his team, they're retiring every single day or helping folks do that. So they got a lot of wealth of knowledge in their pocket that they're ready to share with you. MichigansRetirementCoach.com is our website where you can go to start the conversation with Mike and his team or click on the links we got posted in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit MichigansRetirementCoach.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.